Hello there. Welcome to this video where you get to learn more on how you can approach various GMAT questions in the GMAT exam. And in these videos, we do select questions from various topics and we walk through them together with you to show you how you can approach the questions using various strategies as you learn better approaches and also probably gain a better understanding on how you can do so. My name is Joshua Obuya, trainer and a mentor the Kenya Edit program under the GMAT training section. Welcome aboard and hope you will learn more. In this session, we'd like to look at questions which involve set proportions. What do I mean by that? These are questions probably which to ask about proportions of groups which are part of other groups. Yeah, so they fall under the set theory questions or set questions. And at the same time, also, they do tend to be quite tricky, and knowing how to approach them actually can help you on edge, especially when you get to higher difficulty questions. So let's just dive right into the questions. So the first question to look at is a question which is in the sub 600 level in difficulty. These are questions which many students don't have a challenge getting the correct answer. So we'll attempt this question, pause the video, give it an attempt, then come back and join us as we solve it together. In a certain apartment building, exactly a third of the apartments have 2 bedrooms, and exactly a seventh of the 2-bedroom apartments are front apartments. Which of the following could be the total number of apartments in the building? So this question asks just the possibility of what the total number of buildings could be. So these are questions which don't really require much thought into it, but just if you know the basic concepts, you can find your way around and get the answer. So let's see. We have apartments in a building, and then a third of them, let's say the number of buildings is X. Yeah. So a third of them, third X, are actually 2 bedrooms. And then a seventh of the 2 bedrooms are front apartments. So 1/7 of the 2 bedrooms are front apartments. So in this expression in algebra, also we tend to like to express values with the same notation so that you can make it easier. So in this case, you can look at 1/7 times 1/3 x will be the front, 2-bed front. So this makes it 1/21x. Or actually 2-bedroom front, to be front, let me say so. So which of the following could be the total number of apartments in the building? So what this question basically is asking you to find the whole number which will make these proportions make sense. So we're looking at a possibility of either getting a multiple of a whole number which can divide by all through by this, given the choices that we do have. So in this case, the smallest proportion we have actually the 2-bedroom front, because 1/21 is the smallest proportion compared to a third of all the buildings that we have. So you have, so it's a multiple of 3, multiple 21. In this case, 21 is a multiple of 3. So if you get a multiple of 21, then actually we'll be able to get to know how many apartments are front. So in this case, any number that multiple 21 will help us get a whole number that is 2 bedrooms on front. So this is simply put, we can just multiply each by 21 by actually various multiples and see. So you'll have either you can have them as 21, 42, then times 3 is 63. And then is there need to go beyond this? Let's look at the choices. Choices actually don't go beyond 63, so we can stop at that because they tend to help inform what the answer choice will be. So in this case, we only have 42 as the answer that is popping up. That is in the multiple choices, and therefore 42 is a possible number of all the apartments, and that way it will mean that only 2 apartments are front apartments and they are 2-bedroom. That is what it means. So the answer choice here is A, is the correct answer. So that is actually an easy question in the proportion of values. Yeah, that's what to look at. Let's now go a notch higher and see how it plays out. In this question, being told that of the C condominiums in a certain building complex, 2/3 have at least 2 bedrooms. If of those, a quarter have at least 2 bathrooms, which of the following expressions express the number of condominiums in the complex with at least 2 bedrooms that do not have at least 2 bathrooms? So it's very much close to the previous question, but it's a bit more tricky. So if you look at this question, it requires a bit of some logic and reasoning, hence the difficulty level which has gone up 600 to 650. So these are questions which will require you to apply some reasoning and also a bit and also majorly on the concepts, and you should be able to get your answer. So for these questions, you can approach them using the algebra way, but for set questions, I prefer going the matrix route, since normally it gives a very good visualization of what the problem what the problem at hand has. So let's take a look and see. So let's try and put this in a diagram and visualize what our problem is. So we have condominiums in a building complex, 2/3 of at least 2 bedrooms, and then we have also two baths. So we have beds, so let's call them what? So let's call them 2-bed, 2BD. Then we can also have non-2BD. Then you have 2-bath, let's BT, then non-2-bath. So we have these groups in the matrix. We'd like to organize our content information to be able to match what we have, and then use this to get the correct answer that we will be asked depending on what it is. So in this case, we've been asked that there are 2/3 that have at least 2 bedrooms. So this 2 bedroom, that is this column right here, we have 2/3 of them. And then if of these, a quarter have at least 2 baths. So of the 2 bedrooms, a quarter of them have at least 2 baths. That is this column, this is this cell right here. So a quarter of the 2/3, 1/4 times 2/3, have actually what? They have at least 2 baths. So which of the following expressions represent the number of condominiums in the complex with at least 2 bedrooms that do not have at least 2 baths? So we're having 2 bedrooms, then none 2 baths. That is this cell right here. That's what we're being asked. So we don't need to worry about any other areas which are not being told about. So we only need to focus on this. So since it's a fraction, and actually we can easily get the proportions about these. Remember that whenever we have fractions or proportions, these are proportions of all the units you have in this question. So whatever we have, we'll be working with actually will be proportional of all the units that we do have in this question, as you say. So in this case, you'll have how many of them have 2-bed, 2-bath. So 2B and T, let's call it that, will be 1/4 times 2/3, which will be, they'll go once, twice, then be 1/6 of all the condominiums have 2 beds, 2 baths. So the question being asked is actually just a difference of this, which is 2/3 minus 1/6. So if you divide this, if you subtract this, only get the LCM will be 6. 3 will go here twice. 2 times 2 is 4. Minus 1 is equal to 3 out of 6, which is a half of all the condominiums are actually the 2-bedroom and non-2-bath. So that is it. So what do you have in the answer choices is straightforward. This thing is as answer choice A. That is how you go about it. So that is how you would approach this question and see that I can get the answer. Not much fast, so that's also a possibility. Another approach, of course, is picking a number. You can pick a number, let's say multiple of 3, that also will be also multiple of 4. So let's say the LCM like 12, and then you plug in the numbers and see which one will fit into these proportions. But this seems to be a faster way of getting to get the correct answer in this question.
You are watching Success with Bob Mwiti Show, presented to you by Upstack America. Upstack America is a consulting company that helps immigrants find amazing higher education and job opportunities in the tech industry in the United States. You can find our programs by going to www.appstechamerica.com. Appstec America, we wake you up to the unlimited potential.
Let's go to a question that will be of more difficulty. This is actually a 650 to 700 level difficulty question. 50% of the apartments in a certain building have windows and hardwood floors. 25% of the apartments without windows have hardwood floors. If 40% of the apartments do not have hardwood floors, what percent of the apartments with windows have hardwood floors? So this question is talking about percentages, and it can be a bit more, and the percentages of, like in this case, is saying 50% of the apartments, then 20% of apartments without windows, which is a proportional proportion. These are what makes these questions be a bit tricky. So yes, we'll use the matrix to approach this question, but before we get there, let's try to map out our question and get to understand it properly on what have we been told and what are we being asked about. So we have apartments that have windows and hardwood floors. Let's say windows and hardwood, W and H. These are 50%. And then we have 25% of apartments without windows, of the apartments without windows have hardwood floors. So we have without windows, so no windows, and have hardwood floors and have hardwood. That would be 25%. Then 40% of the apartments do not have hardwood floors. So no hardwood, that is 40%. What percent of the apartments with windows have hardwood floors? So windows, what percent of the apartments with windows have hardwood floors? So it's just not just windows, but a proportion of those with hardwood floors. So let's say windows and hardwood floors proportion is that's what you've been asked or asked. So let's now try and see how we can put this into a question. So because of percentages and some are percentage of others, then it is best to use values that will help you be able to present what you're being told correctly. In this case, I would go for, let's say, pick a number that will make sense. If percentages case, we can pick, let's say, 100 to help us get this. So let's map this out. So you have windows and no windows. Then we have hardwood floors and no hardwood floors. So what have we been told? So we have, let's say, the numbers of apartments, we are 100. So any values we have in here are proportions of the 100. That's what we're looking at. And that's what we're trying to get to be able to help us get the question that's being asked. So if you have 100, then let's go back now to the statements we have. You have apartments, 50% of the apartments in the building have windows and hardwood floors. So 50% of 100 will be 50 windows and hardwood floors. That is here. So that will be 50 apartments. And then you have 25% of apartments without windows have hardwood floors. So without windows, there's no windows. That's this column here. A quarter of them have hardwood floors. So that is this cell here. But you can't really get the proportion because it first of all find what the no windows are, then you can get the value here. So let's hold on to that for a while. Then we told that if 40% of the apartments do not have hardwood floors, no hardwood floors, both with windows and no windows, is 40%. 40% of 100, that will be 40. Therefore, those with hardwood floors will be 60. If those hardwood floors are 60 and those with hardwood floors and have windows are 50, then 10 of them are hardwood floors and no windows. That's what we have. And what does this mean? Actually, from this on now, we can see this 10, no windows, no hardwood floors, is equal to 12% of the windows of the apartments without windows. So 12% of the apartments without windows are actually 10. So how many apartments have no windows? That 25 times 4, that is 10 times 4, which will be 40. So 40 apartments have no windows. That means 60 apartments have windows. That also means that if 40 have no windows and 10 have 100 floors, that means 30 have 100 floors. In this case, also, Otto is saying that if 30 of them have 100 floors, have no 100 floors, and 40 have 100 floors, then also this place is 10. So we have the matrix complete. Now, what we asked, what percent of the apartments with windows, that is this column here, have 100 floors? So we're looking at 50 divided by 60, 50 out of 60. 60. That is what we've been asked. That is 5 divided by 6. So 6 will go into 5, will be, let's say, 0.8, actually 8, that is 48, then there's 2, 20, 8, 3, then again is, actually we have again bring 18, remainder is 2, so it will be 8, 3, 3, 3, 3 recurring. So that is 83.33%, which is answer choice E. So what is becoming interesting here is actually being able to translate what we have in the question actually as a proportion into what it actually means if it comes to whole numbers. And if you can be able to translate it, that it can help you solve this question and be able to get the correct answer. So that is how you will approach these questions if you get them in a GMAT exam. And until next time, thank you for watching. Subscribe and ask questions if you have any. And see you next time. Bye.